Je vais donc donner la parole à Kimlong pour sa présentation. La présentation se fera en anglais. Le PowerPoint est en anglais aussi. Nous espérions avoir le temps de le traduire, mais malheureusement, ça n'a pas été possible. Ensuite, les échanges, autant que possible, pourraient se faire en anglais, mais on assurera une traduction pour... quand ça n'est pas possible en anglais, ça peut se faire aussi en français et j'assurerai une traduction. Juste avant de donner la parole à Kimlong, je voudrais faire une annonce d'organisation, de logistique. Madame Calvin est à votre disposition pour toutes les questions qui sont relatives à l'hébergement, éventuellement au repas pour ceux d'entre vous qui ne sont pas inscrits. Si certains d'entre vous ne sont pas inscrits, eh bien, il faut vous adresser à Madame Calvin qui va vous inscrire de manière à ce qu'ensuite on puisse assurer l'intendance de tout cela. Et elle vous demande aussi de vous adresser à elle pour tous ceux d'entre vous qui auront besoin d'une contribution de transport pour retourner à l'aéroport ou à la gare à un moment donné. Donc, merci de voir avec elle ces différents éléments pour une bonne organisation de notre colloque. Je donne la parole maintenant donc à Kimlong Ly pour sa présentation.
Thank you, Betty. And thank you for the opportunity for me to share something about Cambodia. And talking about youth and family farming in Cambodia is something strange to Cambodian and even me when I first come to interview or with the farmer and also I with my friend in Cambodia. They say, "What do you study about?" I say, "About family and youth," and they say, "Wow, it's strange." So it is not so many study about youth, rural migration and migration in Cambodia in general. I'm the first one who tried to explore the situation of youth and family farming in Cambodia. As literature suggests that there is so many debate whether development should focus on smallholding farming or large-scale farming. Some say we should focus on development more non-farm activity due to the change of behavior of rural family and so on. So I'm trying to break through that by not saying that agriculture, smallholding farming is good, or it is good to integrate youth into smallholding farming, or what. My question is just to look at the situation that can contribute to keep youth stay on the farm or not staying in the farm. And I have three main ideas to convey here. Is that the first one is about rural youth in Cambodia and family farming, and the second one is about the economic of farming. Can they sustain the rural livelihood if youth wanted to install in the farming? And the third one to draw the reflection on the Cambodian situation and the policy implication. So as I mentioned about the question is about condition for youth integration. And to understand this in Cambodia, where the context of not so many studies have been done, especially in migration and youth, are totally new, I'm trying to explore the three main pillars. The first one, I think that the way that people decide to move out of the farm based on their motivation, the motivation that come from the problem that they have faced in their social environment. That is family and farm economic. And on the other side, the incentive of the individual come from the personal experience. And the third one is the institutional environment, which including the policy, the program support, and also the situation of the family itself. So thanks to these three components to understanding this issue, I designed the household economic survey to understand the family economic and the individual and family perception about farming in Cambodia. And also to get the youth view on the farming, I conduct individual interview with youth and their parents. And also last part of the study, I conduct the case study on one intervention projects which aiming at integrating youth in farming to see what is work and why people still want to move out even with there is a supporting program. So the study highlights 4 main questions, and I'm not going to tell you the result of these 4 questions today, but just to share the preliminary finding of the result from the fieldwork. And the first question corresponds to the 3 pillars, is that what lies behind youth decision to take up or not to take up farming. Second one is, if they want to take or settle in farming, what is the capacity of farming itself to sustain their livelihood? Thirdly, what are factors contribute to keep them or to push them out of the farm? And the fourth one is to draw reflection from an NGO program and the context of Cambodia. This is all the study is about. Let me begin by introduce you to know something about Cambodia context. Is that from 1980 to 2000, the Cambodian population is doubled from 6 million to 12 million, and a lot of young people are entering the market job every year. And we can say Cambodia country, young population country, account for more than 60%. If we take the definition of youth by under the age of 30, and we include by under the age 24, but if we include to the age of 30, about more than 60% are young population. So there is not available of data concerning youth employment in farming or employment in general. So we can just say that if you take the pattern of labor force of youth, of people, of workforce, that currently about 60% that working on the farming, we can see that 300,000 of the 60% of youth that have to accommodate more on the farming. This is situation. On the other side is about agrarian issue in Cambodia. You can see 10 out of 14 million are living in rural area, of which 8.5% of them are subsistence farming, rely on annual crop, rice farming, and forest product. And many of them are small land holding. I put the figure of 1.5 hectare is too much. Recently, about less than a hectare. And in Cambodia, I'm sorry, I forgot to put the map. In Cambodia, there's a central plan, and this central plan are rice-based farming, and the situation there account of 70% of the of people living there are now at the situation that farming in the question not to support enough the livelihood. So there is a study by the group of French researchers in 2000 demonstrate that there will be about 1.5 or to 4 million people are going to move out of this area. As I mentioned earlier, this is the context, but from the recent study, especially the national census in 2008, suggests that there are many people are engaged in migration, both migration to rural and migration to urban. And impressively, that migration to rural area account more about 60%. And why? Because they have to move out to find a way to find the land. So let me finish the Cambodian context by this. Oh, sorry, one more point. It's about economic. The country from 2000 to now, the country enjoyed double digit of economic growth, which average of 7% of GDP growth. And the main leading economic driven growth is come from 3 main sectors. It's from industrial, which is garment factory, construction, and real estate, and tourism, and finally agriculture. But the 3 leading are important. But the global financial crisis in 2008 gave a big lesson to Cambodian government that we cannot ignore agriculture because these 3 sectors are dependent on external market. Therefore, they put launching a new rice policy export promotion to suggest to support the farming sector. But to me, unlikely that they are favor the smallholding farming, because from their policy, their statement that have been reviewed, they are more favor on large-scale plantation than the smallholding one. Yeah. So This is the part that I want to share about rural youth in Cambodia. This result come from the survey result of 380 households in two areas, one low density area and another one in high density area. And not so surprised that many rural youth are engaged in farming activities since they were young, as a shared household responsibility to the family. And this has become a prerequisite experience if they want to take up the farming. And from the sample interview, I extract how many youths are there. And I found that around 40% of the population of the sample are youth, and I categorize them between those who are currently studying and those who are stopped studying. And those who stop studying, there are two parts. Some migrate and some stay in the farming, but many of them, around 60%, are staying in the farming. So what are they doing? This figure just to give an impression that their main activity are engaged in farming with the minor rice plantation, but mainly in rice farming. And I asked them to get their view. What do they think about the farming? And they say, about non-farm activity farming. And they say it's very difficult to find non-farm activity in Cambodia, especially in rural area. And this is because of their low level of education, because of the education are so expensive, so they cannot afford higher education, and non-farm activity demand for higher education and social network, and they don't have it. And they tend to give a positive view regarding to the farming. I asked them if they want to take over the farming from their parents. They say, okay, I want it. But the reason behind this positive view because there is no alternative, because there is no non-farm opportunity available. They got level of education, resulting them not so self-confident in finding other opportunity. And for them, starting a farm work is not as difficult. So majority of them state that they want to hand it over farming activity to their children if their children wanted to, and this lie on the ability of their children to perform on the education. And this finding is not new. Like many other studies, they indicate about the same thing. Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, the low level of education determines the choice of farming. But as you can see in this table, if we sum the primary and secondary school, we can see that 60% of them are under the secondary school. Yeah. So from their view, they tend to think that agriculture is good. But let's see from the farming economic side and household economy. I don't have the complex table to put here, but I have one figure just because these figures come from the sum of all economic activity, including non-farm activity, off-farm activity, remittance that the family members sending from the city, to see the extent of which agriculture can contribute to sustain. And I feel surprised to see that majority of them, about 60%, met the critical from farming that are not able to supply the daily consumption. And this is due to the context of them, because they have small land, low productivity, high farm input, fertilizer, and also the cost of food are also increased, and their majority of expense are mainly to food. And I try to look if they are borrowing something. Yes, 60% of them, even those who have a positive balance of economy, still they engage in borrowing. Others still who met the deficit also borrowing. This figure is to give an impression on how the total cross consumption of economics of agriculture contribute to the whole consumption. And we can see in the green that the green are the consumption from what they have to find more. And the blue one is the consumption that agriculture can contribute. So if we break down from the green one, we can see that this is dedicated to food, and the rest are dedicated to wedding and social activity, medical treatment, and their children's schooling. So this is their main consumption. So from the economic point of view, and not from the farm economic, if we calculate farm economic, we can see that, okay, their farm production is cover the cost. But when we group this as a household economy, we can see the capacity of generating income is not enough to meet what they have need to expend for daily, especially when their children is growing and demand for cost of education. So this is from the survey from the survey from the natural point of view. But let's see the case study from SEDA, Centre d'études de développement agricole Cambodia, which are aiming at integrating youth with the 2-year support program to see how successful of this program and how many youth are successfully run their business farming. Something about SEDA. SEDA start to engage with the training with youth from 3 steps of program. The first program, they produce a young graduate to work for the community. And the second one is community leader to have to become a leader of the community and facilitate the community development, such as book record keeping and meeting minute writing, something like that. But the last one is starting in 2008, after right in time the global financial crisis, and right in time that the Cambodian government to emphasize the role of agriculture, they introduced the project of young agricultural entrepreneur, which target the youth between the age of 16 to 30 years old, and those who drop out or single or married. And they should have a basic knowledge of calculation so that they can develop their business plan. And they provide a training on agriculture, they provide supervision, on-farm supervision. But this supply is not enough, and they learn that youth lack of motivation, lack of innovative idea, and especially their family, their parents, are the main driven them to move out of the farm. So the program decided to engage their parents, decide to engage the local authority to know and to ensure or contribute to ensure, and also motivation of the, modification of the training program to include the personal development value chain. Yeah. So when I go to conduct an interview, there are 3 main projects. 3 phases of the project. The first start in 2008, 2010, and up to 2013. And it is good to see the difference between those who are ongoing in the project and those who are finished the projects. And when we see those who are currently engaged in the project, we can get an impression of success of the program because they produce, they cultivate, they raise the animal. We can see all of them beautiful. We say, okay, the project should be success. But 2 years later, when we visit their house, surprisingly, it is difficult to find them for even an interview. We need to go one by one to their house. And this table to give an impression that among 20 of those who engage in the projects, only 2 or 3 of them are still working on the farm, running farm. But the rest are moving out. And even these 2, they are still thinking of moving out of the farm to migrate to the city. And one interview story, I found that one guy, when I finished the interview, he got a phone call telling him that he just got success in applying job in Korea. So even the most successful one, they try to move out. So my question is why? The project can contribute the young people, young farmer, to overcome the technical constraint regarding to technique, farming management, farm business plan, economic calculation, and so on. This is perfect. But when it comes to the capacity of farming to supply to the livelihood, as I mentioned in the surveys, this case study confirmed the survey that yes, production and economic of farming are the key issue that driven family and youth to move out of the farm. And I have a story of this guy who's 33 years old. He is the most outstanding successful farmer in raising pig and chicken and system right intensification. And I make a detailed study of his livelihood activity and economic of farming. And I found that even he can intensify chicken, pig, and system right intensification. Even he intensify his labor in the farming, still the income from this activity are not enough to sustain their livelihood with his wife and the 3 children about the age of 5 to 7 years old. And this case suggests that the survey from the previous step of study confirmed that yes, the key issue is farming are in the critical condition to sustain the rural livelihood. And this is the case that make youth difficult to stay in the farming. And I have met many of them who have moved out temporarily to seek a non-farm activity with the $200 US dollar per month or $300 per month. And I ask them, will you come back? And they say, yes. This non-farm activity is just a temporary job for me to gain more capital enough to expand land, to expand the production, and about 5 or 10 years, or they will come back and settle on farming again. So, my conclusion is that although challenging in Cambodia, still youth and parents are think that farming are positive to them because option of alternative, low level of education, high cost of education, growing number of youth. Therefore, family farming become a safety net for food and secure livelihood, especially when they get married. So, as I mentioned earlier, the question of farming in sustaining livelihood are the key challenge for successful youth integration. And finally, I would like to draw the reflection on Cambodian context. That while the situation in Cambodia likely to be more on small farm, my government tend to favor large-scale plantation. Especially, they devoted 1/5 of the total of the country land to the economic land concession, with driving land conflict and the forced eviction. And they seem to favor pure market, absolute free market economy, rather than regulating market. And I noticed in several speeches of the Prime Minister and documentation of their policy, yes, they want this. And non-farm job creation in Cambodia are very slow, and there is a study from a famous research institution in Cambodia. They argue that this slow job creation in non-farm due to the historical fact, but I don't know what they refer to historical fact. Maybe the country war, dramatized by the war. And recently, in Cambodia, does not have youth employment policy in general. So forget about youth employment policy in agriculture. So that's all from my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kimlong, especially for the time frame. Alors, question à Kimlong. Alors, Kimlong comprend le français mais les questions en anglais, bien sûr, sont bienvenues aussi. Et je traduirai les autres. I will translate. Donc, nous avons là une situation qui est une situation de pays asiatiques avec ce que nous avons en tête quand nous pensons à Asie, ce sont ces situations où le secteur secondaire et tertiaire est très fortement développé, donc un gisement d'emploi très, très important avec toute la problématique de savoir comment ces différents secteurs sont reliés les uns aux autres. Donc là, l'éclairage que Kimlong nous a donné sur la question de l'installation en agriculture, vous voyez qu'elle est quand même très fortement reliée aussi à cette situation particulière des trois secteurs. Alors, question sur cette situation asiatique. Juste, vous voulez bien vous présenter, s'il vous plaît, parce que vous venez d'arriver, ça c'est une bonne occasion.
Voilà, mon nom c'est Babacar.
Allô, allô.
Ok, donc mon nom c'est Elhaj Babacar Samb. Je suis conseiller en développement agricole et d'affaires au CNCR et je m'occupe plus particulièrement du collège des jeunes du CNCR au Sénégal. Donc voilà, tout à l'heure dans votre présentation, vous avez parlé d'un projet qui avait installé certains jeunes. Et parmi les jeunes installés, après 2 ans, il n'y en avait que 3 qui sont restés, alors qu'au début, tout marchait très bien. J'aimerais bien savoir quelle est la caractéristique en fait, de ces 3 jeunes qui sont restés par rapport aux autres jeunes qui ont préféré abandonner.
Why they are success? Yes. Thank you. That's a very good question. Yeah, I forgot to mention during the presentation. Actually, there is a key characteristic that these 2 are success and still working on the farm. First one, because they are single and they are living with their parent, and their parents are engaging in non-farm activity, such as motor taxi in Cambodia are very common. Yeah. Migration to work as garment factory. So they combine the family member activity so that youth share that part of the work, can stay working on the farm, and production from the farm can keep support the family. And their parent income from the non-farm activity, from migration to the city, sending back home to secure, to sustain this family. So this is the situation in Cambodia. And in the case of those who success like that. But when they get married, you can see the guy who get married, the case. When they experience for a while in farming, at the beginning they are so inspired to work on the farm. Even young people who just enter in the project, they are so inspired. Because they have seen that those who migrate doesn't yield, doesn't gain the good perspective in terms of earning. And then they come back to settle on the farm. So the youth who in the village, he say, okay, if they migrate and still not get a good result, so better stay in farm and work. But when they experience for a while, and they will encounter this farm economic problem that I present, then they will decide again to move or to stay. Thank you.
Petite traduction. Est-ce qu'il y a, oui, peut-être juste enfin, donc, quelques mots. Donc, caractéristique des deux personnes qui sont restées, c'était des célibataires et intégrés dans une famille dans laquelle il y avait des activités non agricoles. Et donc, la logique de fonctionnement de ce système-là, c'était une logique de système d'activité dans laquelle des revenus non agricoles pouvaient alimenter la dynamique agricole et réciproquement. Donc, cette logique du non-agricole, en fait, s'est imposée dans ces deux cas. Et donc, ensuite, Kimlong nous a parlé de trajectoire de ces jeunes. Quand ils se marient, les choses changent, les besoins de revenus augmentent, et donc à ce moment-là, l'ouverture sur d'autres activités sur la ville peut être une opportunité. Mais on peut avoir aussi des trajectoires de personnes qui reviennent de la ville et qui essayent de mettre en œuvre des activités, mais toujours dans cette logique de système d'activité. Alors, d'autres questions?
Okay. Thank you very much. My name is Khadija Doukouré. I'm from IFAD, International Fund for Agriculture Development. I'm based in Senegal. I would like to know what does mean SRI. It's my first question. The second question is...
I'm sorry, do you speak English or French?
SRI.
SRI. Okay.
The second is after the design of the business plan, did the young people, did they have a link with the final institution or only a training or capacity building international?
I don't hear her question.
After the design of the business plan, I understand somewhere the design of the business plan, during the training. After the business plan design, did the program link the participant to financial institution or
Yeah.
access to financial means?
I don't hear her question.
Yeah. I think the microphone is not so open, so so the first point is about SRI, okay. The second point is about SEDAC in the training frame. After the business plan, are young people linked with microfinance institution or banks to get access to credit through the program, or are they completely
Thank you. The question, let me answer the question of microfinance first. Actually, this is the challenge of the program, because the program does not have or provide the financial support to use. So, thanks to the feedback from the young agricultural entrepreneur, should not try to mobilize the resource from the saving group, from more than 100 saving groups, combine capital, and then they create a fund. And this fund is for most outstanding young agricultural entrepreneur that can apply for, but they don't get it if they fail their business plan. It's not good enough. So the maximum budget allocation is $1,000. And this is selective, not open to everyone. And we cannot complain with that, because as you can see, the ability to return the fund is not sustained. So this is also applied for the other microfinance. How can they ensure their return if the farming is not secure? So, and second point about SRI, I forgot, you said that she asked about SRI, but what is the question about SRI? She said that SRI, the link?
C'est un moment sur la diapositive.
what does it mean? What does it mean?
The system right intensification. That's it.
D'autres questions?
Thank you for the presentation. I was wondering if the people tend to have other activities than farming. Have you tried in the business plan and while designing the programs, have you tried to take all the activities into account, like in one plan? You understood? No?
I don't really get the question.
In your survey, do you have taken in account all the different economic activities? It's a question about your survey.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes. In the survey, I can say I include all economic activity available to the household, including common natural resource they can find for free. And I sum all of that. Yeah. So including the remittance sending from their family member, because in the survey, I list out all their family member, I list out all their occupation, I list out all their education and where they are now. And if I find that they are migration to the city, I will ask that how many remittance they send back home. So that means, yes, I include all comprehensive, very comprehensive. That's all.
Et ce qu'on peut peut-être ajouter, c'est que dans l'étude, donc c'est bien en termes de système d'activité que les approches ont été faites et en termes de livelihood, donc vraiment fonctionnement des ménages, besoin de financement des ménages. Et ce que montre l'étude, donc ce dont Kimlong nous a parlé, c'est que de manière vraiment très, très forte, très majoritaire, dans ces enquêtes-là, on voit que les résultats agricoles couvrent une part limitée des besoins familiaux et que dans presque tous les cas, en fait, on a ces systèmes d'activité qui vont fonctionner et qui vont permettre à ces familles de couvrir plus ou moins bien, vous avez vu les chiffres, leurs besoins totaux. Donc là, on est dans une situation où le système d'activité est une entrée incontournable au-delà du système de production agricole. Les équilibres se font avec les autres activités et en intégrant aussi de manière importante les revenus de la migration. On a dans ce contexte-là, dans les deux contextes d'ailleurs dans lesquels Kimlong a travaillé, un apport important des revenus de migration, soit de migration lointaine, il parlait de la Corée tout à l'heure, soit de migration temporaire vers la ville, mais des contributions donc fortes à l'équilibre des ménages. Alors, est-ce que nous avons d'autres questions ?
S'il n'y a plus de questions, je voudrais juste faire deux remarques justement par rapport à ça. D'abord, félicitations pour votre présentation. Parce que pour avoir participé hier, pendant les 2 derniers jours, aux grandes cérémonies sur le quorum, là, sur les exploitations familiales, il y avait quelque chose qui était frappant, à savoir que finalement, la prise en compte du revenu minimum d'exploitation familiale pour vivre dans la dignité, si on peut dire, n'était pratiquement jamais à l'ordre du jour. On va accroître, on ne sait pas de combien, on ne sait pas comment, c'est le revenu de certaines filières et des choses comme ça. Mais dans les faits, on se rend compte que les chercheurs, tous les brillants chercheurs qui étaient là hier, du monde entier pratiquement, la contrainte qu'ils devraient avoir dès le départ, de se dire on va mettre en place des systèmes de recherche qui sont fondamentalement pour arriver à faire que les personnes aient des revenus pour se payer les 15 ou 16 services pour vivre dans la dignité, elle a été mise de côté tranquillement pendant les 2 jours, sans problème. Donc ça, c'est intéressant que vous ayez déjà pu faire la comparaison entre ce que les personnes doivent avoir et finalement ce qu'ils arrivent à produire au niveau de leur... Parce que pour nous, ça pose une question. Si on veut installer des jeunes et les aider à s'installer, c'est est-ce qu'on peut arriver à avoir des systèmes agro-silvopastoraux et quelques activités autour, bien sûr, qui leur permettent d'avoir ce revenu minimum pour vivre dans la dignité. Si la réponse est non, la différence entre un jeune et un vieux, elle est relativement simple. Le jeune, il s'en va, au revoir, monsieur, dame, je vais faire autre chose, même si je ne fais rien, je m'en vais. Le vieux, lui, il va rester sur place parce qu'il n'a pas le choix, il a compris qu'il faut qu'il reste là. Mais ça, c'est extrêmement important. C'est ça qui fait que les jeunes partent. La deuxième chose, c'est, j'entends quelquefois, assez souvent, une autre question, pour nous en tout cas, sur le problème du retour sur investissement par rapport à ce qu'on fait pour les jeunes. c'est quand même des termes économiques. Je disais qu'un jour, il faudrait que j'écrive le dictionnaire des mots qui tuent dans l'économie. Et ça, c'en est un. C'est-à-dire, quand on forme un jeune qui va produire, il va produire pour son pays pour les 30 ou 40 prochaines années. Penser en termes de retour sur investissement sur les 2 ans qui viennent pour qu'il rembourse les 2 000 € ou les 3 000 € qu'il a donnés, c'est une aberration économique et d'analyse économique, dans laquelle tombe malheureusement la quasi-totalité des économistes. Donc ça, ce sont des choses aussi peut-être qu'il faut qu'on arrive à clarifier un peu au niveau, disons, de ce colloque, pour arriver à sortir des argumentations qui demandent d'autres systèmes d'analyse économique que ceux qui sont utilisés actuellement. Donc 2 questions, le revenu fondamental, le revenu minimum d'exploitation familiale pour que les jeunes puissent vivre dans la dignité, et la deuxième chose, c'est cette histoire du retour sur investissement pour l'investissement sur les jeunes.
Merci Christian. Christian Folio.
Voilà, peut-être effectivement donc présenter M. Folio, en profiter. 2 mots sur votre expérience par rapport à ce thème. Parce qu'au fil des questions, on fait les présentations de nos différents participants.
Par rapport à ce thème, bon, je m'appelle Christian Folio, on peut dire ça retraité actif si vous voulez maintenant. Mais par rapport à ce thème, moi j'ai 2 expériences. La première, c'est la mienne, c'est-à-dire fils de paysans pauvres en France, avec un frère et une sœur, et une ferme qui était impossible d'arriver à faire travailler les 3 sur la ferme. Donc ça a été une première expérience. Il y en avait 2 qui devaient partir obligatoirement. Ça, c'était donc. Il y a aussi le fait que des jeunes, quand ils s'installent sur des terres, y compris de leurs parents, il n'y en a qu'une partie qui peut s'installer. Donc il faut faire très attention à ça. C'est quand on les forme, il faut aussi en former pour le départ. C'est obligatoire, surtout dans beaucoup de pays qui ont des problèmes de terre. Donc ça, c'est ma première expérience personnelle. Après, mon expérience, disons, professionnelle, puisque je suis celui qui est parti, qui a étudié, comme on dit. À partir de là, disons, j'ai travaillé, j'ai fait la première évaluation sur la Côte d'Ivoire du retour des jeunes à la terre. Je crois que c'était en 89 ou 90, quelque chose comme ça. Le bilan était terrifiant. 32 milliards, pratiquement 0 jeunes installés. 32 milliards de francs CFA de dépenses. Pour une multitude de raisons. Mais bon, qui a déjà commencé à permettre, disons, de regarder un peu ce qui allait se passer. Ensuite, j'ai suivi ce qui se passait sur d'autres pays. Bon, je regardais ce qui se passe maintenant sur Madagascar, mais on m'a regardé sur le Burkina Faso. Sur tous les pays sur lesquels j'ai travaillé en Afrique de l'Ouest, il y en a au moins une dizaine ou une quinzaine, y compris sur la Caraïbe et une partie de l'Amérique latine. Je veux dire, les processus sont toujours les mêmes, pratiquement, si vous voulez. On ne prend pas en compte ce que veulent les jeunes. Et c'est pour ça que ce matin, le programme était intéressant dans ce que vous avez dit. C'est-à-dire, quel est le rêve des jeunes? Qu'est-ce qu'ils veulent devenir? Est-ce qu'on va leur permettre de réaliser leurs rêves sur l'agriculture? Ça, c'est un premier problème. Et ensuite, tous les problèmes qu'il y a autour, si vous voulez, qui sont des problèmes finalement, qui est porteur au niveau national de la dynamique d'installation des jeunes et de l'appui à l'installation des jeunes? Qui veut ça? Le président de la République, le Premier ministre, certains ministres ou pas? Qui va être le porteur de la politique? Parce que dans les faits, pour mettre en place la politique, on y reviendra certainement dans le colloque, ça veut dire avoir un certain nombre, et comme vous l'avez très bien montré ce matin, il faut répondre à 8 ou 9 contraintes absolues. Ce ne sont pas des contraintes en dehors uniquement pour les jeunes, enfin ce ne sont pas des dispositifs qui sont mis en place uniquement pour les jeunes, ce sont des dispositifs qui existent pour tout le monde pratiquement. Mais comment on arrive à faire qu'on arrive à pousser ces dispositifs à prendre en compte les problèmes des jeunes, sur le problème du foncier, sur le problème du crédit, sur tous les problèmes pratiquement. Donc qui va être le porteur de ça? Quel est le rôle des OP? Quel est le rôle des politiques? Comment on peut faire pour que les institutions fonctionnent différemment? Et quelle est la représentation des jeunes aussi dans les pouvoirs décisionnels? Donc il y a beaucoup de travail pour le colloque.
Une question importante, effectivement, que nous essaierons de traiter demain après-midi, notamment dans la question autour des OP.
Excusez-moi, juste un dernier mot, c'est sur le problème de la soutenabilité financière des dispositifs qui sont mis en place dans les pays. Il faut faire des analyses économiques par rapport au budget national, par rapport aux contraintes que ça peut poser et aux possibilités de taxation qu'il y a. Je rappelle qu'il y a des possibilités de taxation, même maintenant, des parafiscalités qui peuvent se mettre en place. Entre autres, le FIR 4 Côte d'Ivoire est un des instruments qui a permis de faire ça.
Merci Christian.
Merci. Alors, je crois que ces derniers éléments étaient des commentaires et des contributions à la réflexion, plus que des questions directement pour Kimlong. Donc, je crois que pour essayer de tenir notre timing, je vois des signaux désespérés de notre intendance qui souhaite vraiment que nous prenions la pause pour aller déjeuner. Donc, je voudrais remercier Kimlong de nous avoir présenté son travail. Vous l'avez compris, c'est un travail en cours. Donc, merci pour cette présentation. Alors, nous nous retrouvons donc dans la cafétéria pour le déjeuner et nous reprendrons les travaux, alors du coup avec un petit peu de décalage, donc 14h15 dans cette même salle pour les collèges agricoles de Madagascar.